Lost media is something that happens in every industry. Whether it was a game that was just wildly unpopular or a game that was just canceled by a studio that didn't want to put any more money into it. There are many different ways that a game can become lost, but we're going to take a look at quite a few in this video today. From Mario to GTA to all the way back to Atari games. Nothing is safe from being possibly forgotten. Or some guy will dedicate 10 years of his life to finding it, who knows. Now this audio was actually recorded in 2023, it's actually a failed iceberg video that I'm somehow converting into a new video here. But we got a pretty lengthy list of lost games here, but there might have been some found since then, so you guys will have to put those in the comments. But let's get into this 2-year-old recording. The first one on the list is Grand Theft Auto 64, which of course was supposed to be a Grand Theft Auto game for the Nintendo 64. It was supposed to have enhanced graphics, new levels, and new characteristics, but we're not sure exactly what those new characteristics were supposed to be. Knowing Nintendo is probably turning the blood green or moving all the violence altogether. It was supposed to be shown at E3 1999 where it was about 50% complete, but no footage has ever come out since, and we're not even really sure if it was a real thing. Some people claim to see it in magazines and even have some scans of some old magazines that seem like they have it in there, so maybe it was a real thing. The next game is called Dragon King: The Fighting Game. This was an unfinished game created for the N64. It was supposed to be the first installment of a planned whole fighting game series. It was designed around using the joystick instead of the analog stick, which most games at the time used. Not much was actually known about this game before 2022. We just had some interviews and a little bit of images, but the original creators of the game came out and gave us a lot more information. They said it was gonna be similar to like Super Smash Bros. To be honest though, I'm not sure if the screenshots just looked bad because it was alpha, but I can kind of see why they canceled this game. Big Bible Town. This was a Christian-focused MMO if you couldn't tell from the title. It was supposed to be released in 2010. It was similar to Club Penguin, they say, where players can play mini-games to learn Bible verses or create your own church. Just think Club Penguin, but with a Christian twist and probably people instead of penguins. Ever since the website went down, though, it hasn't been playable. So there is some footage online on YouTube, but not much. Kingdom Hearts Vcast. This was one of those old mobile games before mobile games were even good, basically. Looking around 2004 to 2005, so there weren't no iPhones in this era. This game was going to be made for Verizon Wireless. It was going to be the first game in the series made by another company than Jupiter or Square Enix. Since these phones back in the day were not as powerful, I'm sure the gameplay and quality would be very limited, but it was going to be a weird Kingdom Hearts spin-off, probably the first one. Now this one I'm actually very angry we never got. Call of Duty Vietnam. This was going to be a Call of Duty release right after Modern Warfare 3, taking place in the 60s and 70s in Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos. It was going to be made by Sledgehammer Games, but was scrapped because Sledgehammer ended up actually helping Infinity Ward finish Modern Warfare 3. Of course, we all know Sledgehammer, when they did develop their own game, it ended up being Advanced Warfare, which is loved and hated. Mostly hated when it came out. But this one I think is just a big loss because the Vietnam levels in the original Black Ops were some of the best levels in that game. So a whole game like that, even though it was Sledgehammer, it's pretty hard to mess up Vietnam. Unless you're the USA, of course. The Mean Girls DS game. Mean Girls is a old comedy movie. Haven't really seen the movie, but I'm pretty sure it's just about popular girls being bullies or something. It's supposed to be similar to the PC game Mean Girls High School Showdown. This game actually was released, it seems like, but it sold very few copies, and I doubt there's many screenshots or videos out there. The next one is called Clueless Fashion. This looks like it was one of those dress-up games for the DS. It's actually quite a bit of them. This comes off another comedy film that was actually called Clueless from the 90s. Now, there has been a found build to this game, so there's a decent amount of footage. These girls in to play the DS with all these dress-up games, and all they needed to do was add Animal Crossing to it. The Nintendo Switch has taught us that, the quarantine Animal Crossing pipeline. Taiwan 2001. This one's a spoof game of the 1995 game Hong Kong 97. Now, Hong Kong 97 is pretty well known just because the whole game is like a fever dream. It also uses some real photos of unalived people, which Taiwan 2001 is rumored to have too, probably even more. Some of the images in the old game from Hong Kong 97 are from a place I'm not sure if I can even say. We'll just say a very bad German camp in the 40s, and also some Bosnian war images, so it's safe to say this one's not safe for life. This next one is a very not safe for life one, and I'm not even sure if I can fully go into detail. This one is Eric Harris's Doom Wad levels. Now this is probably just some random Doom modder from back in the 90s that was making mid stuff, but there's one level that he made that's still infamous to this day even though it hasn't been found. Not sure if I can actually say it on YouTube, or he had a level that was supposedly recreating the tragedy. Now this one I'm actually glad is kind of lost. It just seems like some 90s edgelord just doing some dumb stuff, so it probably was a mid-level anyway. DQs.com. DQs.com seems to be a old Dairy Queen flash game website that went down around 2017, where it basically had a lot of flash games that were reskinned just to have Dairy Queen stuff on them, or food making flash games. Now I'm sure a lot of these games have probably been found or uploaded to other websites, but there's a lot missing too, so it is partially found. Metroid Dread. Now some of y'all are saying, hey, it already came out on the Switch, what are you talking about? Save your comment section visit and listen to the rest of what I gotta say. Metroid Dread was supposed to be on the Nintendo DS, and it was gonna be a 2D side-scroller game in around 2005. We got screenshots, a document was leaked from 2005 E3, and this game was set to continue the events of Metroid Fusion. Now there were some prototypes floating around, but they haven't been found yet. There's no prototype builds or ROMs that have ever surfaced since, but it was pretty much confirmed that this game was a thing at some point, and now they just took the name and made a Switch title out of it, so there you go. Mario Takes America. Now, this was a Philips CDI game. If you don't know what the Philips CDI is, it's probably his best, to be honest. Console did have some decent technology for the time, but it was just way too expensive, and this is one of the games that was made for it, but they probably canned it just because the console. We only have a couple images and maybe some magazine snippets from it, but that's about it. In the game, Mario is supposed to arrive in New York and make his way to Hollywood so he can make a full motion video, probably because that was the gimmick of the whole console. There was a lot of video involved. Basically, the whole reason why this game probably didn't come out is just because the console was trash. Mega Man Legends 3. This was supposed to be the sequel to Mega Man Legends 2 and was announced in 2010. I haven't actually played a lot of the newer Mega Man games, but I played a lot of the old ones. I got some history with the series, not much. Only thing that exists with this game is there was a little prototype version in 2010. Still not sure if we have our hands on it, but it's out there somewhere. They blame the cancellation on this game on the lack of fan involvement, which I know is a pretty big Mega Man community out there, but maybe it's not that big. This game was set to release for the 3DS though, but we didn't get our little pixel boy this time around. Actually, he's more of an anime man now that I think about it. Ruby Dung. Now, first off, hey yo, what type of name? But this was the original version of Minecraft, apparently. It was developed in 2009 by Notch, of course. We don't have too much about this game, but we do know it was influenced by a game named Dwarf Fortress, which is like a huge 2D construction management type crazy game. Now, if you see the screenshots in this, you could definitely see some parallels between this and what he eventually made. So these little RuneScape-esque screenshots gave us what ended up being Block Boy many years later. And what fits better but next being the early versions of Minecraft that we've lost. We do still have some early versions from around 2009 and 2010, but most of them have been lost nowadays. Most of these we know they even exist from screenshots, also from Notch's Tumblr, if you remember that cringe of a site. It's kind of a little bit of a rabbit hole you can fall into here because there's a lot of people who have posted fake ones and people who are really obsessed with finding the lost ones. So if you're really into it, there's probably some hole on YouTube somewhere you can just get lost in. Next one is Star Wars 1313. What I'm still mad at, I'm still mad about Disney. You know what I mean? Disney's the worst thing to happen to this damn franchise. Rant over. It was basically supposed to be like a third-person cinematic type Star Wars game. Almost like the Souls-like games we're getting now, but I think this one was more action-based, not as try-hardy. The game had George Lucas working on it. It was Unreal Engine 3. Some of the gameplay we got looked amazing. There's rumors out there that it was almost fully complete too when Disney canned it after they bought out LucasArts. I think one of the funniest details about this though is that the gameplay footage that we all saw that had us all going crazy was first broadcasted on Spike TV. And if that doesn't scream 2012 or 2013, then you're probably born on those years or something. Super Mario 64 2 or Super Mario 128 as it's also known. Now this is supposed to be a direct sequel to Super Mario 64. Of course this was in the late 90s, right at the end of like the N64 type era. It was also being developed for the 64DD, which is a commercial failure in every sense of the word. It is rumored that some of these elements from this game might have made its way into Super Mario Sunshine and even the Galaxy series, but I think the Galaxy Galaxy series is pushing it a little bit. Next one is Sword Quest Airworld. Now, if you don't know about Sword Quest, I don't blame you. It's for the Atari, really old game, but it was also very popular for a little bit. They hosted these cool contests where you could win these trinkets that have worth up to 25k. And Airworld was supposed to be the final game in that series, but it never ended up getting finished. This is actually another one of those game series where you can go down the rabbit hole of the lore and all the craziness that happened. But I'm sure by this point, with their 25k trinkets they're giving away to players, they probably just ran out of money by this point to develop this game and host another contest. And of course, the one game that's canceled. Contest prize was gonna be the Philosopher's Stone, so you know what I mean? We probably missed out on some crazy knowledge, who knows. Super Mario Spiker. Now, this is a game that was going to be developed for the Wii around 2007. It's a Mario volleyball game. That was the original working title, and that's what the whole main point of the game was. But it was also supposed to have some wrestling in there too. I'm not sure how you're going to combine volleyball and wrestling, but Nintendo thought they could do it back in the 2000s. This is going to be made by the same team that made Super Mario Strikers, which I think you can tell where they got the name from now for this one. We got some screenshots, some concept art, very early prototype stuff, but that's pretty much as far as it went. And of course, Nintendo rejected this because of the realistic wrestling moves, whatever that means. But volleyball wrestling, I almost wanted to see this come out just because of that. That is the strangest crossbreed I've ever seen. 12 Tales Conquer 64. Now this, of course, if you could tell by the name, ended up turning into Conker's Bad Fur Day. It was first announced as Conker's Quest at E3 1997. I think this one was actually supposed to be kind of childlike almost, not the more mature game it ended up turning into. But it was being developed by Rare, which is a legendary game studio. I think the reason why they might have canned this one, at least the early versions of it, is because it's too close to Banjo-Kazooie and a bunch of other games that already released. But they kept the idea, put an adult twist onto it, and made one of my favorite games of all time. Might have played it a little too young though, because there was a certain flower in the game that, Zelda. Hope I pronounced that right, but this was basically Ocarina of Time V2. It's another one of those games that was being developed for the 64DD. A total failure where a lot of games like this ended up being canceled for it because they knew nobody would be there to play it. It was supposed to revisit some of the ideas that were scrapped when they were making Ocarina of Time. I think we have some trailers and maybe some screenshots from the early development. There's also a major leak in 2020 in 4chan of all places. There's a little folder in there labeled Ocarina II, and some people are thinking that was probably some leaked content from this game. Walts Warning. Now, this was supposed to be a Flash game promoting Breaking Bad, of course, one of the based TV shows out there. It's supposed to be a first-person interactive series where you actually upload your name and photos of yourself to get a more, immersive experience, probably so they could track you too. Now, of course, a lot of the content in this game got lost when Flash got discontinued, but there still is a lot of videos out there and screenshots of this game, and it has some of the original actors playing in it too, and some FMV type cutscenes. You can actually go on the Wayback Machine and play some of it, but it doesn't contain the full game. So that's why there's some of it still missing to this day. But hey man, who doesn't love Breaking Bad? Even if you don't like the show, you at least like the memes on TikTok, I bet. Yeah, Beavis. This is gonna be a pretty short one. This is actually probably a fake game. It was seen in some magazines back in the day, but there's theories of it being a copyright trap to a placeholder. Even an inside joke. Basically, someone just had some old magazine from way back in the 90s and saw this weird name of a game titled on it and couldn't find anything about it. Still to this day, we don't exactly know why it's on that damn magazine, but like I said, there's a lot of theories like the ones I brought up earlier. Duke Nukem Forever 2001 build. Duke Nukem Forever, we all know that development hell type game, but it's honestly surprising how almost fully done the original builds were. You could download some of the 2001 builds now, and yeah, all the levels aren't fully finished, and you might have to use some console commands to get into certain levels, but there's a lot there. Of course, it kind of looks and plays like the original Half-Life. I'm pretty sure it was created on that engine or something close to it. But of course, this one's only partially because it wasn't fully completed. But we do actually have a lot of builds that you can even play to this day. I'm sure there's some restoration guy filling in all the unfinished content with their old ideas, and we'll get a full release with quotations here in the next 5 years or something, who knows. Family Guy Online. Now, this was going to be a cel-shaded MMORPG revolving around the Family Guy world, of course. Started development in probably 2010 and was supposed to be launched in 2011. It ended up actually launching in 2012 for a public beta, but it never moved out of beta. They actually used the Unity Unity engine for this one, a 2012 version of the Unity engine, but pretty good back then too. Of course, it'd be an MMO, you'd have quests, characters, storylines. It would probably be some RuneScape but Family Guy type BS. But of course, it never made it out of beta, and everyone got refunded within 60 days if they'd made a purchase. Because of course, there's probably in-app purchases. It's an MMORPG. Kid Kirby. This is a game that was supposed to be released for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It was actually developed by the same guys who turned into Rockstar North. We would have followed a younger Kirby, so like the name, Kid Kirby, and probably would have been a lot more childish too. There was a lot of good platform and fun in these games, so we lost a good platformer out of this one. There's also some misinformation where people thought that a hard hat boss from Donkey Kong Land was actually intended for this game, but of course it was just someone lying. It's the problem with these lost media things. There's a lot of liars and fake stuff out there. But we didn't get to see our little pink ball boy in this game though. This next one is the pre-release of Luigi's Mansion. It was a little demo they had called Space World 2000. This was shown off at the 2000 E3. And within the same year, Luigi's Mansion came out. Of course, we have the original trailer that they played, and it's kind of an ongoing thing that Nintendo uses these space worlds to show off their games. Doom 4. Now, this was the game that id Software was working on before their Doom 2016 revamp to the series. Supposed to be a way more story-driven type game where they had AI friendlies and you were fighting off the demons coming into Earth. Kind of like the Resistance games, but Doom and the Doom guy based man he is. We do have a lot of little early development screenshots and some videos, and a lot of the animations ended up being used in Doom 2016. They just changed around the playstyle and made it a lone wolf style gameplay like the old ones. I actually kind of would have wanted to see this, maybe not as a mainline entry, but as like a spin-off type Doom game, a more narrative-driven one would be pretty dope. And of course, a lot of the development that would have gone into this game ended up going to Rage, which was kind of a mid-game series. It's okay, not the best. Socks the Cat Rocks the Hill. This was a very strange NES game that was supposed to star the main character Socks the Cat, which is actually a real-life president pet of the Clinton family at the time. So I almost feel like this was going to be more of like a parody type game, making fun of the Clintons. It's going to be a 2D side-scroller type game, of course, parody, like I said. Now, you can probably understand why it never got released. I'm sure there was some controversy making fun of a president. It would kind of be funny to see a side-scroller game making fun of all these old presidents in America, like Ted Kennedy, Richard Nixon probably would be in there. But of course, I'm not sure what drugs they were on when they came up with this idea, but it never ended up getting pushed out in the end. Burger King CDI training program. Now, if that is one of the most random things you'll ever see on this list, I don't know what it is, man. It was developed for the Philips CDI, which is actually a pretty commercial failure of itself. It looks like these fast food chains are trying to experiment with games training their employees. It has been found. I'm sure there's some version online that you could play it on. There's also some video of it, but it's a pretty bare-bone training game. You're not going to have too much fun. It's more of just a funny thing, to be honest. I mean, just the name itself had me intrigued. Like, Burger King CDI, when did this crossover happen? What 90s concoction is this? Silent Hills. This is another one I'm actually very, very mad about. They canceled that Silent Hills game. I think you guys more know it as PT, which is the demo that came out. Kojima Productions, big name actor in there. This looked like it was going to be amazing. Still not sure why they canceled this. Also still not sure why we haven't gotten a Silent Hill game in what feels like a decade. We need a remake, a new one, something, man. Or else I'm about to book myself a flight to Japan right now. No, but in all seriousness, get your stuff together. Silent Hill is a badass series. You gotta play it. Return to Ravenholm. This was also known as Half-Life 2 Episode 4. It was a canceled little spin-off development, of course, for you're going back to Ravenholm, probably one of the best missions from Half-Life 2. It almost just seems like a Half-Life 2, but a little more horror-driven. I mean, Ravenholm was very scary when I first played it back in the day. You had zombies that would behave similar to like Left 4 Dead 2 type zombies. Bunch of head crabs, couple other cool zombie different archetypes. This would have been dope if it actually came out, but sadly it ended up getting canceled. Valve is not the best with releasing games anymore, and even back then. Now, I understand it though, with the type of games in Valve's catalog, if they don't make something that's damn near perfection, there's gonna be a lot of hate. A lot of hate. But we got a good amount of screenshots and concept art from this one, so we pretty much know what it would have looked like. Shoot, someone could probably remake it just from the enemies and the screenshots with their own little twist on the story. Now this next game is actually a McDonald's employee training game for the Nintendo DS that took 11 years to find. I think it was actually meant for Japan, to train people in Japan, but this is crazy. 11 years. Who's spending 11 years to find a McDonald's training program? It had a budget of 2 million yen. It was supposed to be used in over 3,000 McDonald's locations across Japan. I think it actually did end up getting completed, but I don't think it went to all locations like they planned on it, and it took 11 years for someone to finally found it, but they found most of it. So if you're really into the Japanese DS game that helped train employees, I mean, go down the rabbit hole. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 3. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 was originally planned to have 3 episodes. First 2 episodes did come out. Critics liked it, the fans didn't. Sega ended up just canning this one. Never actually played Sonic the Hedgehog 4, so I'm not sure what fans didn't like about it, but it's around 2014, so the fact that I don't know about it probably tells how bad it was. We got some screenshots and some information on this, but actually not much, surprisingly. Super Mario Kart R. Now, this is actually a pre-release version of Mario Kart 64. This was a thing in 1995, 2 years before the release of Mario Kart 64. And of course, this came out of that large July 2020 leak I talked about earlier. Now, we do have a partial build of it, but not the full build. But it is pretty cool to get these pre-release version of major games that we've never even seen. Sonic Cafe. Now, this is a mobile game, but not one of those modern ones. It was meant to come out in 2001. It was planned to only release in Japan. Probably would have played it on a phone that was making weird beeping noises for its ringtone. It was also re-released in 2007. There was actually a line of games that had a bunch of them come out. Closest we got to this was something called Sega Mobile, which had some Sonic Cafe games into it, but not all. Service fully ended in 2019, but there has been some partially found games that were on. Most of them have been lost though. 3D Groove game. Now 3D Groove was actually a 3D game engine. There was a bunch of games that were released on it. A lot of browser games released from it. But when the 3D Groove site went down, a lot of the games went down with it. And there's still a lot of them that we did save, but a lot that we didn't. Now they did release some of their own games off this engine, but they really meant for it to be an advertiser kind of flash game engine. Companies like Radio Shack, AT&T, food companies could make little flash games to tie in with new product releases. There were a lot of dope just regular flash games produced with it too, so I mean a lot of them have been found, but like I said, there's a lot that have been lost. And I'm sure the search is still going on to see if they can find some of the lost ones. There's quite a few nostalgic flash games that were made on this that I used to play as well. Super Mario's Wacky World. This is actually a Mario game being developed for the Philips CDI, which like I've stated earlier in the video was a failure, so probably a reason why it's not that well known. Now, the developer of this game was actually trying to get hired by Nintendo. The only reason why this game might have came out is because Philips actually had a contract with Nintendo that allowed them to use some of their characters for CDI games. It's a very incomplete game though. There's not even enemies that are programmed. You can only just walk around and jump. But I'm sure he was planning something crazy. And no, I don't think he ever got hired. This is the Super Mario 64 demo from the Space World 95. Like I said earlier, Nintendo loves to announce their games with the Space World title. This is a very early version and just one they're trying to show to the public, like, hey, look what we got coming. We got some screenshots, maybe a couple videos, but that's really about it. Think of it as the beta version of Super Mario 64, pretty much. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale Cut DLC. Now, like the title says, there was supposed to be DLC for this game, but because of the dwindling player base at the time, they decided not to release it. Now, we only have 4 confirmed characters that were meant to be DLC, but they did plan on having a lot more. People like Abe from Oddworld and some Ninja Gaiden characters. There were also some stages being worked on, but they ended up all getting scrapped in the end. Among Us 2. Now yes, the developers Among Us, they were going to make a second game, but they decided to ride out the hype wave after their old game kind of blew up out of nowhere. They would have had bigger ships, bigger upgrades, also a higher player count. I think 12 to 15 players were supposed to be in one game at a time. But, like I said, because the first game just exploded in popularity, they just decided just to sit back and let that bring in some dough. Now that it low-key is kind of fallen off again, they might plan on releasing a new one again, who knows. Super Mario RPG 2. This is actually a pre-release version pretty much of the Paper Mario. It was first previewed in 1997 at the Nintendo Space World event. It's supposed to be a direct sequel to the first Super Mario RPG game, which actually was developed by the people who turned into Square Enix. Pretty much the same gameplay as the first one. They had the whole 2D cutouts and the puppet comic strip looking vibe to it. We do have some footage of this pre-release version and screenshots, but it's pretty much completely lost. We don't have any hands on any playable versions. But Paperboy still got it in. He still got it in. Fez II. The original Fez is actually a pretty dope indie classic game. Had some pretty unique gameplay for the time, and it had the pixel graphics, of course. Now, there was a second one planned, but the head dev ended up having a fallout with Microsoft, and there was a bunch of controversies, and he just didn't feel it anymore, so we decided to cancel it. Being a game developer can be tough, man. I'm sure it's mentally draining, especially if you got a crazy good game that you gotta live up to. But we still got the first game to play, and you know, it's a pretty dope classic indie game, still runs well, so you gotta like it. Little Big Planet Generator. It was a fun little promotional Flash game made for Little Big Planet back in 2008, where you could play dress up with the little doll or play other little mini games. Of course, it was probably lost after Flash got discontinued and nobody really decided to back it up, but it's pretty much been completely lost. But there is a lot of footage of the game out there. Doesn't look too in-depth, but it is a little fun promotional thing. If you like Little Big Planet, it's a little bit more lore in your story there. So that was the end of our video game lost media list. Remember, the audio is from 2023, so if there's any games that have been found since then, that is why they're on the list. And you guys can leave in the comments which ones have been, because I'm sure there's been ones that have been found. The lost media community is crazy. But this video took hella long to edit, so I hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope you guys are enjoying the new content style too. But I guess other than that, I'll see y'all in the next one, man.